Okay, it's 7 p.m. I call this meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda this evening?
Yes, we have some data on number 4, under information and proposals. Removed, of course, we did representatives to the board. So on the top of the agenda. On number 8, under new business, on 8.2, remove and consider approval of hiring a retiree for the remainder of the 24-25 school year. We would ask that we remove this action item from the agenda on 8.2. And then that will be also replaced with the hiring of the English speaker under 8.11. And so that will be under 8.11, and consider approving of offering a teacher contract for the remainder of the 24-25 school year. The recommendation is to approve offering a prorated teaching contract to Olivia Saunders as English teacher at Goshen Middle School for the remainder of the 24-25 school year. Then our last change under number 10, teacher meetings, 10.5, got rescheduling Tuesday, December 10th, regular board meeting to Monday, December 9th, due to the Goshen County band gala concert.
Okay, we now need to approve the agenda. For the agenda, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Right.
All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented this evening, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We will now move down to number 4, which is information and proposals. 4.1 is recognition of board member years of service to Goshen County School District number 1.
Trustee Buffeto. And for me, to acknowledge his service to the school district. Mr. Buffeto started in February of 2015, was appointed to the board at that time, and then ran at the next election in November of 2016 and served for the preceding next 8 years. And we just really appreciate the service. Trustee Buffeto is one of the last remaining board members that was part of the interview committee when I took the position as superintendent here. And there are countless things I know, just even in my short 6 years, that Trustee Buffeto was a part of in bringing to the Goshen County School District. Mr. Buffeto has been a champion for mental health constantly throughout his tenure as a community member and as a board member. And the service that he has provided our students has been astounding from the time that I've been on the board. So please help me in thanking the Trustee Buffeto for his years of service. Now I can have our chair. So back joining the board during COVID, which was always a lot of fun for all of us in navigating some of the challenges during that time. He ran and was elected to the board in November of 2020. We have had many conversations over the last 4 years about so many different things in school and how those affect students. And Matt was always a champion for students in our district. One of the biggest things that Trustee Sussex and I talk about regularly are the services for our students that are challenged academically, behaviorally, or emotionally, and how we provide those services the best options that we can. And he's been a champion of that from the very beginning, and making sure all the students were served and that we were able to provide the services not only at every one of our buildings, but across the district very similarly. And I really appreciate getting to know trustee Sussex in that way. And as a community member, he is constantly volunteering and was really impactful and working with our nutrition program in the farm to school program that was brought this last fall, and the services that he donates. And we will certainly miss him as a board member, but I will call on him regularly for committee membership and things that I will hopefully have him involved in. But so please help me thank trustee Sussex for his years of service. Unfortunately, trustee Richmond and trustee Curley weren't able to join us either this evening, but this was going to be their last meeting also. Trustee Kirchner joined the board also in December of 2020, and Justin Hurley was nominated to the board in February of 22, and then he ran for the 2-year term in November of 22 and was reelected and served those 2 years. We greatly appreciate both of those members and their service over the years in the Goshen County School Board.
Okay, one more thing before we move on. I just want to point out, we're dealing with some new technology up here this evening. So if it seems a little jumbled, we also have to vote on the screen here. So we're all trying to figure that out as we go along as well. So anyway, I apologize ahead of time for anything that might cause. Letter 4 or number 4.3 is discussion of Wyoming School Boards Association proposed resolutions for the 2024 delegate assembly. And I believe Carlos and Mr. Kramer can fill us in on that.
So your packet on page 8 is where we see the delegate assembly items for consideration and the resolution. And so if you've had an opportunity to read through those, I'm just going to go over those. And then if there is any recommendation for a board member, if we could just have a conversation about that as I go through. So in the first one, which is on page, it would be 2, but it's page 9 of the packet, is 2026.1 local boards to decide the city of carrier rule. The rationale is local Wyoming school boards should maintain the authority to exercise local control over whether or not to create an advocacy of carrier rule. The diverse communities across Wyoming hold unique values, views, and desires, which are best understood and respected by those who are closest to them. Those boards are entrusted with the duty and responsibility to draft, implement, and review rules and policies that reflect the specific needs, and priorities of the constituents. Blanket legislation at the state level threatens this local control, undermining the ability of school boards to respond effectively to the specific concerns of their communities. By stripping away this autonomy, such legislation eliminates the capacity of locally elected officials to fulfill their role in shaping safe and supportive educational environments that align with their unique community values. The recommendation of the Wyoming School Board Association Board of Directors does not have a recommendation for this. And if there is a recommendation to represent or trustee Stefano to vote on this, you would certainly welcome that information. I'll go on to the next. 2026.2, retain local board authority over possession of firearms by employees. Again, rationale, several Wyoming school districts have utilized Wyoming State Statute 21-3-132, possession of firearms on school property to enhance school security, or retaining full board authority to determine the required procedures for staff authorized to carry firearms on school property, including selection criteria, approval, training requirements, and more. If the legislature changes this law to allow citizens with valid concealed carry permits to carry firearms on district property, districts must retain the authority to regulate concealed carry by staff members. The district needs to be able to determine appropriate safety protocols, select which employees may conceal carry, and require training in coordination with local law enforcement. Under current law, district staff approved to carry in school are vetted, trained, and work with school resource officers. Under current school district policies that authorize concealed carry, such as Rule CKA, a concealed carry employee acting with the scope of their employment is protected under the school district liability insurance policy. It would be concerning for the language of Wyoming State Statute 21-3-132 be eliminated in the revision of Wyoming's policy pertaining to gun-free zones. School districts would lose the authority over staff members to carry on district property. Without school district authorization, such as that provided in Rule CPA, staff members using a firearm on school property may be subject to personal liability. Under current law and policy, staff members who are authorized to conceal carry are known to law enforcement, increasing safety, school safety, and reducing the risk of friendly fire. Most importantly, local law enforcement knows how many firearms are in the building. This knowledge is crucial when seconds count because medical care teams cannot enter an unsecured building. An undetermined number of firearms concealed by staff in the building could result in a delay in medical care. This is submitted by Park County School District number 6. The recommendation of the Wyoming School Board Association of Directors is no recommendation. Go on to 2026.3, concealed carry permit requirement. Go to rationale. Should the Wyoming legislature vote to eliminate gun-free zones in Wyoming, this resolution maintains the ability of the district to regulate concealed carry by staff. It requires that others who elect concealed carry in school present their concealed carry permit prior to entry into the school facility. This position recognizes that citizens with concealed carry permit will be allowed to carry within the school facility, but clarifies that only those with permits issued by the state are eligible to carry and offers clear guidance and protocol for any eligible person entering the school property or building with a firearm while students are present. Wyoming is one of many states that allows constitutional carry, allowing individuals without a permit issued by the state to carry a firearm, either openly or concealed. Permitted carry differs from constitutional carry in that it requires an individual to obtain a permit from the state prior to being authorized to carry a concealed firearm. Permitted carry has different qualifications and requires the permit holder to have a physical permit on their person anytime to conceal carry a firearm. With the repeal of gun-free zones, the language used in the statute may lead to confusion as to who would be authorized to carry a firearm and who and whether the permit would be required for any of the gun-free zones that remain in place. This resolution would allow districts to ask the people who intend to conceal carry in school facilities to reduce the actual concealed carry permit, which proves that they have some degree of firearm training. Have passed the DCI background checks, do not have a drug or alcohol problem, and they haven't committed a violent crime in the past. Constitutional carry requires none of the above qualifications. This requirement also provides vital information in the event of an active shooter, allowing the district to notify incoming law enforcement how many other firearms may be on the premises and who those individuals are. Districts must know individuals who are concealing a firearm with a permit to avoid danger during school authorized safety drills and other circumstances. The goal is that the legislature allows the district to retain local control and to continue to let each district develop its own safety and security protocols to suit the needs of that district. This is also submitted by Park County School District number 6. And the Wyoming School Board Association Board of Directors has no recommendation. 2026.4. Homeschool should not be classified as a dropout. The rationale, the current law considers a student who disenrolls in the school district and elects to complete their education as a homeschool student to be a dropout. We firmly believe that when parents choose to homeschool their children, it is a valid and thoughtful educational choice, not a reflection of our district quality of services. Homeschooling should not be classified as a dropout from the school system, as it is simply an alternative path for students to pursue their academic progress. We respect and support parents' rights to make the best decisions for their children while continuing to offer excellent education to all students within our district. This is submitted by Bighorn County School District number 3, and the recommendation of the Wyoming School Board of Directors is denied. I'm just going to read that rationale on why the Wyoming School Board of Directors felt that this resolution was unnecessary as state and federal law allow for students who elect to leave a public school for a homeschool program to be counted as a transfer rather than a dropout.
Real quick before we move on, they feel basically that it's redundant because there are already protections in place. Is that?
Yes, and then it's the view of the school district, Bighorn County School District number 3, rather than counting them as a transfer. There's some pieces in there that does it can potentially take a hit to the district, but it is minimalized by the transfer opportunity. Hmm. 2026.5 curriculum transparency. The rationale, the community values education transparency, and accountability in the school district. Parents, guardians, and community members have a right to access information about curriculum and materials being taught in schools. Transparency curriculum promotes trust and collaboration between educators, parents, and the community. And it's submitted by Fremont County School District Number 1, Water School Board Association, Director of no recommendation on it. 2026.6 statutory notification dates for boards, trustees, and certified staff. The rationale, there's no overwhelming amount of data demonstrating there's a significant shortage of teachers, not only in Wyoming, but across the country. Teacher preparation programs are not training out enough instructors to fill the void they're experiencing. States around us that historically served as a recruiting pool have improved pay to retain their teachers. As we seek high quality staff to educate our students, we find the deadlines to be detrimental to this endeavor. All positions are now challenging to fill, and even more so for rural districts that may lack some of the accommodations of larger communities. As districts consider options for replacing staff, this may mean changing the course offerings of the program. By moving up the dates, we would have time to plan and prepare. We need additional time to advertise and recruit staff into our district. Submitted by Fremont County School District Number 2 and the Wyoming School Board Association Board of Directors have no recommendation. And we are somewhat addressing this by one of our actions that is also locally developed incentivizing for the time. And then some of the academic advocacy agenda is number 1, equity and flexibility for local school districts to support the provision of quality educational opportunities for all Wyoming students while allowing local districts flexibility in how they meet the needs of students. Number 2, prepare for their future. Support an educational program that provides students with world-class educational opportunities and prepares them for their future. Number 3, public schools are the choice. Support options for parents and students to choose educational programs within Wyoming public schools rather than diverting dollars to programs that lack transparency, accountability, and local oversight. Number 4, school funding. Support a school funding model that accurately reflects the cost of providing quality education and allows local districts to block grant flexibility. Number 5, school safety. Support efforts to provide all students with safe and supportive learning environments while providing flexibility for local districts in meeting student and staff needs. And that concludes the delegate assembly items for consideration.
We will now move down to 4.4, which is a school presentation by Trail Elementary.
Okay, thank you guys very much, one, for allowing us to host the school board meeting tonight at Trail Elementary. I hope the accommodations are satisfactory. It's sure nice to have everybody in the building. It was awesome to get a tour. Usually I get the new students, and they're not always as interested in asking me questions. So that's fine. I'm going to go ahead, and I know you've heard me talk during the tour for quite some time, so I'm going to make it short, but I'm going to make it precise. So my presentation tonight, if you want to go ahead and turn to the sheet right here, is Trail Elementary's goals that we have developed based on our school district's mission, vision, and values. These were the areas in which our schools are not responsible, but a part of creating goals around those goals. So I just wanted to give you guys an update of where we're at on those. So if you look at, Vision 1 with our SISSEL screener, that is our social emotional screener. If you look to the far right, I'm going to give you, each subcategory and the percent of students who were proficient. And then the other far right is like our overall school proficiency. So in self-awareness, 90% of our students were identified proficient. In decision-making, 88% of our students were identified proficient. In self-management, 86%. Motivation to learn, 87%. And relationship skills, 87%. Our overall third through fifth grade students was an 8% proficient, 16% emerging, and 4% at risk. That was given to all of our students, except there were 191 students who took this survey out of a total of 238. So we did have 47 students and parents who opted out of this survey at our school. So that's based on the 191 students. If you turn to the blue section of that, it is our Leader in Me, our MRA, and that's in the second packet. So I gave you the download report, and I'll kind of just go through it, not page by page, but on some high points, and some points that we've been identified as areas that we need to work on to do better. So if you look at that first page, it gives us the rating scale around ineffective, needs improvement, satisfactory, effective, and exemplary. So really what we're looking for is a score from 70 to 79 is satisfactory, or anything above 79. Okay. So turn to the first page, and that big blue dot on the far left is our overall school rating out of all fourth and fifth grade students. We did have 5 students and parents who opted out of that particular survey. So that was out of about 150 students. So our overall LIM, this is our Leader in Me score around those subcategories is 73. That does put us in that satisfactory range. This is the lower end of that satisfactory range. So we want to be cognizant of that. In our leadership overall, and I'll look at the subcategories as we go through, but our overall is 71. Again, at that lower end of the satisfactory range. Culture, 76. It's just at the higher end of that satisfactory range. And then our academics at a 72. One thing I want to highlight in the leadership piece, if you look at the family and community engagement, that was a score of 57. That did put us in the needs improvement area. So that would be one area in which us at Trail Elementary would focus on as far as the family and community engagement. So if we flip to the next page, where it says leadership, I won't go through all of those, but you can see all of our ratings in each of those subcategories. If you flip to the last page of leadership, which will be the next one, the whole family and community engagement, there's school and family partnership, family engagement, and community engagement. If you look at those scores, we were satisfactory in the school and family partnership, the family engagement, but we were not, what we call needs improvement around the community engagement. So out of that whole score, the community engagement is a piece that we want to focus on to help our families be more collaborative partnerships with our families with the Trail Elementary. So that's going to be an area that we as a school will take out of our lighthouse team, and we will see how can we address, how can we provide more community engagement so our families and our students feel more engaged, communities feel more engaged in our school. If we go to culture, just a couple of quick things. I highlighted school climate. We were a score of 81. That's in the lower end of effective. So that is something that is very, very positive for us, and we are going to keep focus on that because that is a focus that is being made at Trail Elementary, the school culture. We want all staff, we want all students to feel welcome and valued and loved while they're here, and it's something we continue to do, but we'd also like to improve on that too. Let's see. That really, I'm not going to go through the rest of the report, but I wanted to give it to you in hand so you guys can come through it at your own time. It was ready to be able to have a something to make it easier tonight when you're home. So our next portion of our trails, elementary goals is, it's another yellow part. It is around a 10% increase per semester of students reaching the 40th percentile on grade level Ames Web, reading, composite score, and math. We take our winter benchmark from the 9th to the 19th. So our goal is 10% or more. We will have a good indication of where we're at there if we met it, if we exceeded it, after we give our winter benchmark in December. So I will be happy to report on that at some other point in another board presentation, but at some other point when Mr. Kramer asked for our percentage, we have our district wide benchmarking. Next one is the green one. That's our white top scores. Again, we give those in the spring. If you look at our 23-24, those are our levels of proficiency in ELA and math. As a school, 53% proficient in advanced in ELA and 52% proficient in advanced in math. Our goal is 80% proficient in both reading and math. So we're working hard, as I talked about in our tour, we're working hard to get students from where they're at to where they need to be, so we can reach that goal by the end of the year. So I'll be happy to report on that when that comes. The next one is behavior referrals. So our baseline is 23-24. We had a total, these were major and minors. So we have a difference in major behavior referrals and minor behavior referrals. We have a total of 230 for the whole year. Our goal is to reduce those by 15%. I do not have any indication right now. We're going to take that to the end of the year and do some of our behavior processes and the rubric, teacher expectations and teacher teaching and some class management stuff. And we're trying to reduce that by 15% or more. Our daily average attendance, our baseline in September was 95.40%. Our goal is 98%. Currently, as of November 11th, we're at 95.58% average daily attendance. So we're on a good track right there. Certainly in the years, I'm excited about that. Our discipline data on student bullying, our baseline for 23-24 is we had no policy 51-53 enactments, which is our bullying policy. Currently, as of today, we still have 0 enactments of policy 51-58. So we would like to maintain that through our leader in need, through our expectations, and through our teaching, and through our support for our students. So we don't have to enact that policy, whatever, but if we do, we will. Our next one is discipline data on academic dishonesty. 23-24, we had no incidents of academic dishonesty, and our goal is to maintain no academic dishonesty. Currently, right now, we have 0 incidents of academic dishonesty. And that's really all I have for you guys. Any questions you guys have?
I just wanted to add, where Mr. Portion was there as referenced the Ames Web on language arts. They did not reach their goal from the winter to spring last year, but 72.05% of students were in grades 3rd through 5th indicated as scored proficient on Ames Web, which is the highest percentage that we've had reach proficiency. Especially when tracking Ames Web. So they kudos for them and their work and continued work as we go. Our goal will be 66.36% in winter, and then 76.36% when we reach that spring benchmark.
The team here at Elementary is I'm very proud of them for the work they've done through that data there, and I'm also very, very proud of the work the team has done in our White House indicator system. I think that will be shared later, but we had a great staff meeting a little while ago where I presented that and where we were and where we are. Not to take any more time, but 2017 we were at a rating of 1.7. I'm not sure how they calculated all that, but that's not it, right? Prior to that, we were at a score of 1. After 2017, we maintained for several years, 3 years, maybe the COVID year in there, we did take it of a 1.7, and this year we reached a 2.3, 2.6 is the cutoff to be exceeding expectations. So I'm truly proud of my team here. They put in the hard work and it's showing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move down to 4.5, which is Torrington High School Improvement Plan information.
Good evening. I'm Alan Van Tiller, the high school principal, and it's an honor to be here tonight to share some things with you. Tonight's kind of a hard news and good news, so start with the hard stuff. Mr. Graver wanted me to talk a little bit about the WDE school performance rating and where we're at currently in the school. Presently, we've rated at a 1.3. We need to be a 1.4 to be partially met, according to WDE. Now, the good news is we're close, but we still have a lot of work to do. So I just wanted to go through real quick kind of how the WDE rates this. I do want to thank Corey and Chris for giving me a little information as well, Mr. Derby. There's 7 key categories. This all came off the WDE website. Growth, equity, achievement, extended graduation, 4-year on-time graduation, post-secondary readiness, and grade 9 credits. All the explanations are there. I don't want to read it all to you. The only area that we actually met, we exceeded was post-secondary readiness. So we have a lot of work to do with THS, and we're presently on that. So let's get to the good news part. So that's our THS school improvement plan. As I sit down and looked at this stuff this year and went through this with our staff that were part of the school improvement plan and putting it together, you know, we realized we do have a lot of work to do. This is not acceptable to us, and I believe we have the people on the bus, the right people on the bus to execute this plan and to see things get better. But I'm going to caution you, it's going to take time. This is not going to be something that's going to turn around overnight. So the things that we're going to focus on are culture and climate, data informed planning, and instruction. So we've already started a lot of this. At the beginning of the year, I took our staff through my expectations. It was about an hour-long PowerPoint of what I wanted to see from them in all areas of their work at school. We all put that every student down. Every single one, we took them through our handbook, our new discipline matrix. We made sure that all of them read it and signed an acknowledgement stating so. And then this April, we're going to take staff through a PBIS. Is this something we want to do to continue to try to help, you know, curb behavior in the school and make expectations and procedures more clear so everybody can have a better environment to learn. Data informed planning, we have been working on this very hard from the very beginning of the school year. This started with PLC meetings. We spent a lot of time working in wrenching minds to identify students who are tier 2, 3, that are struggling with their academics, their behavior. PLC meetings take place twice a week. We're also having bi-weekly SST and MTSS meetings in which we identify and try to develop supports for students that are struggling. All of this is involved with the data informed planning. And then lastly, instruction. This is an area that I personally love and have a lot of experience with. We're really focusing hard on the essential standards. We're focusing hard on ACT test prep. That's something that's currently shared to high school with our Green Friday, which has been a huge hit. And we've had, by the way, some great numbers. Last Green Friday, we had 139 students in that. So we had a really good turnout. First, we had about 112. So we're seeing some great results there. I want to take you through just a few things here. The first practice goal related to culture and climate. My background is strong with an instructional model called APL, and we started this day one with our staff. I modeled this in every teacher meeting for our staff to see what the strategies look like, how they could look at a classroom. I'll tell you, we have a very talented staff that has a lot of creativity that's taken these strategies and done some wonderful things with them as I go through the walkthrough. We also are I personally do a lot of walkthroughs each week, and come up to about 400 at this point from the school year. They'll take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, so it's a huge time investment on my part, but the results that we're seeing have been tremendous. The PLC meetings, a lot of these discussions are centered around student data as well as instruction, what's effective, what research says is effective, and what we should be doing in our classrooms. We've also invested a ton of time in branching minds in our PLC work as we've been looking at data, things like YTOP, ACT, STAR data. So there's a lot of data we have to look at. We actually just had our staff meeting this last Monday, and we looked at all of those things, kind of a benchmark meeting to see where our kids are at in the fall. And as I said, we have a lot of work to do, so we're excited to tackle that. Then we're also using Blazer time, that's our flex time at the end of the day, to support students with enrichment and intervention. If we flip over to the next page, we're also attacking Leader in Me, and we're doing that once a week on Wednesdays to try to develop the SEL part of our students. And one of the cool things we're seeing here is that this is 100% team led. Mr. Chavez is overseeing this, providing guidance. Students are creating videos related to the Leader in Me content that we're delivering, which is pretty cool. Because I've learned anytime students are leading something, it's way better than we as adults do, because they have to invest in it. Our one-year practice goal is to continue to develop what APL considers to be effective instructional planning, the daily lessons centered around strategies for the beginning, middle, and end of the class. And we're seeing that in our lessons much more consistently. I can tell you from the beginning of the school year, we're seeing a lot of great work by our teachers. PLC and data review, that's taking place monthly. We're looking at YTOP, STAR, ACT, as well as common assessments. We've had discussions around how those are also going, and what we need to do if students are not passing those. And then 4 critical questions that comes from the brief manual training that we're getting right now, and the book that I've read, and she's put out, all of our administrators have. Those 4 critical questions are: what do we want students to know and be able to do? Number 2, how will we know if students are learning? Number 3, how will we respond when students don't learn? And number 4, how will we extend learning for students who are already proficient? These are questions that we're talking about as we have our PLC sessions every week. These are our center questions. Priority practice number 2, data analysis. I've already talked a lot about these. This ties into the PLC, the MTSF, the SFT, and branching minds. And by the way, branching minds is the tool I've had a lot of experience with from where I came from Alliance, Nebraska. It's a wonderful tool that helps us track students very closely and gives us a lot of data on our students just at one click in some cases. So we are using it extensively at Farmington High School to help us better understand our students. And lastly, priority practice number 3, leaders and staff working together. This has been done in PLC work a lot through essential standards, pacing guides, MTSS, and SST, but also a lot of strong discussions on our instruction. So we have a lot of work to do. We understand that. We're trying to tackle it. I'm already seeing a lot of this stuff happen in the building and at a high level. So I'm anxious to see what we do this spring with our YTOP test. I can tell you that our fall tests were not impressive, but we have decided that that's not going to be a hindrance. We're going to plow ahead, and we're going to continue to deliver solid instruction every day to our kids. And we've identified that we've got a cultural issue a little bit with our test taking, so we're trying to figure out, that's one of our discussions tomorrow with PLC. What do we need to do to get the students to take this serious and really invest and try hard? And we're tossing around a lot of different ideas, so hopefully we'll get some good discussion tomorrow. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
And can you just, who's actually on the MTSS and SFT reading?
MTSS is actually right now being participated in by some of our IFs from the district office, the counselors, myself. Lord Shields is also a part of that, Mr. Margaret. So there's a number of people that are part of that process. We look at where kids are at as far as the tiers that they're in, tier 1, 2, and 3. And so tier 1 would be, according to the MTSS process, about 80% of the kids should fit in there. That's not the case normally. We have a few more than that. But anyhow, that's kind of where we start. The SFT then, we really take a look at the intervention. What can we do to move those kids hopefully out of the tier 2 and 3. And tier 2 would be about 15% of those kids, and tier 3 would be about 5%, roughly, those are the ones that need funds. So ideally, we want to see less kids in tier 2 and 3 move back into tier 1. So the SST again would go back to the counselors, myself, Mr. Bartlett, Kelsey Walker.
How was the discipline matrix received by the students as well as staff? I mean, I realize you're stepping into a new environment for you. How was that received?
Well, give Mr. Bartlett a lot of credit. I rolled this out with him after I talked to Mr. Kramer about it. And I said, "You think the board would improve this?" And he said, "Yes." So we sat down and dialogued a lot. And he looked at it and said, "A lot of this is going to be a rude awakening for our kids. It's very clear when it comes to our expectations for behavior, and if those aren't followed, well, the pack." That was one thing I realized right away at THS, we needed to tighten up our discipline and our expectations. So how was it received? This is where Mr. Bartlett gave me a lot of great information. He said, "I think we need to take all our kids through this," which is what we did in Nebraska. That was state law, by the way. We had to go through the entire handbook, which is the matrix for the department. The other thing that we discussed was we needed to have every student sign a memorandum of understanding. Because a lot of times people forget things. And so we would hear that a lot, that I don't remember this. Nobody told me this when it comes to the discipline piece. And so all of them signed it. And so as we have incidents when they don't remember things, we remind them of what they read. And usually their memory gets a lot better. So it's been received well. I think kids are very aware of it. Staff's very aware of it. The big key to it is our consistency with making sure that it's followed. And I can give you some information on it if you want it. We've had a fair amount of in-school suspensions. I don't think our out-of-school suspensions is out of line at all. So we've been able to keep kids in school, still educate them instead of coming home. But the idea behind it is that we have clarity with what we expect this year. And I was really kind of surprised when I got here that THS didn't have things, that we had some district expectations, and I read the handbook, nothing really specific about specific behaviors.
I don't recall seeing this, like, this type of behavior before. Now, how are you comparing to some of the top new, like, for 1.3, what were we the last 5 years? In my report at the end.
For what I know, last year, I think we were a partially meeting school. This was the first year that we were not. And there's a lot of factors to this. I know one of them was this extended graduation fee. Our dropouts, I think this last year, they had it down to 15. And we're trying to figure out how much of that is what the state has received. And as I was listening tonight, I didn't realize in the state of Wyoming that we had a number of kids who went homeschool with those that actually factored in as well. So that's an impact on us. So even though they're not in our building, and they went technically in my time, they transferred out. So I see the reason for that. We trying to be ran through so it doesn't affect us. But at the same time, that's something we need to correct for our buildings. It's a cultural thing. How can we prevent dropouts? So one thing we put in place is anybody that's asked to drop out, they have to meet with myself and this is not that. We meet with parents as well. So we're trying hard to keep kids in school and not make that easy.
I will just share actually that data real quick because I want to make sure and not miss the opportunity. Just for specifically THS. We were at 1.3 this year, which is not meeting. Last year was at 1.4. The year prior in 21-22 was 1.4. In 18-19 was the previous, because we did not do 2021, was 1.2. And then in 17-18 was 1.4. Going back 16-17 was 1.6. And then in 15-15, 14-15, 13-14 was all at the 1.2.
So those students that actually, we don't receive a diploma, but more of a certificate, are those also included in that as well?
So in some of those graduation pieces, they do receive that they graduation on 5 and 6 year. And so that's why it's also important to look at that 5 and 6 year graduation rate that we also keep track of, because there are certain situations where we do need 5th and 6th year of education program. And so those also do then come back, but there is a struggle with how it meshes with the school rating on that year. The other piece that makes this a longer process is there's a 3-year average of this. So they're not just taking the previous year, this isn't just 23, 24. And so it really, when I talk about DHS and where they're at, it will be challenging in just 1 year work as we talked about in there, the difficulty of moving out of that, but it's also a kind of a slow progress to that next step too. And then we talk about some of the other schools and some of the big jumps they made as Mr. Goshen referenced, almost up in 0.6 in 1 year for one school.
Mr. Van Gilbert, how can we as a board support you or help you and your staff?
Thank you for that question. That's a great question. I really believe right now, we know what we need to do. I mean, it's been made clear to us. I do want to thank you for your support. When I asked to have the discipline matrix brought in, you guys couldn't say no. And I identified that right away as a need. Having talked to different staff members and people in the community, I knew THS was going to be a challenge from that standpoint. So thank you for that support. Just continue to support the work that we do through encouraging us. We spend a lot of time, I spend a lot of time in classrooms. My secretary often can't find me because I'm pulled up in some room somewhere watching the teacher teach, providing them support. And, you know, I guess just stand beside us and encourage it. This is going to be a process. DHS has unfortunately been the victim of some dysfunction junction over the last 4 years. I can see that right away when I came in, and it was, I'm still shocked at some of the stuff that I'm uncovering, but we have great people there. We have the right people on the bus that want to be led. I've had zero resistance from our staff on the things I'm asking them to do. They're working hard. It's just going to take time. And grace on your part. I mean, just that would be the biggest thing. I hope to see the needle move this year, just through the things we're doing with instruction. And in Alliance, I saw a very similar situation. I was there 20 years. We were a school that was half persistently low achieving school, PLAS, by the state when we first started the accountability test. And within 2 years, we were top 10 turnarounds, all because of the instruction stuff that we did. So I believe the needle will move. I've seen it move through instruction, but again, that takes time. And it takes a lot of hard conversations, and it takes me showing up, frequency of interaction. It takes teachers being willing to do the things that they're being asked to do. But the stuff I'm asking them to do is research-based. I'm not asking them to do crazy stuff, but stuff that should have been going on the last 40 years. It did. So I can't answer to that, but I know where we're going.
So I've never seen this here usually a performance rating like I said. You were not. I got myself. So as a board last quite a while, we worked on our own kind of next innovation. We're starting to implement that. My question is, how much thought would you put in this number from the WDE compared to our own local assessment?
That's a good question. That is a loaded question a little bit. I can't really answer it. I guess what jumps out to me as I look at this is, as a high school principal, I'm very interested in graduation rate. That's important to me. And we've got it better. We've got too many kids that are opting out, they're quitting. The other thing that's important to me is the white top, because that gives us an opportunity to compare ourselves to the rest of the school in the state. So where are we at in terms of math, and science, and ELA, right? That's really important to me, because that allows me to see how are we. The other stuff, it's really difficult for me, you know, for example, growth. I mean, this category, their student growth in the prior year, white top ACT score. That's another good thing you can look at, but it's not just a 1 year thing. I like the white top because it's year to year, you know. ACT is year to year. Like last year, we were at 18.3 for an average. The state average was 20. So I'll give you some good news. Our retakes for this fall, we had 20 seniors retaken, we averaged 20. So that was a huge victory for us, because the year before it was 18.3. That's significantly below the rest of the state, the state average. So those are the little victories we got to have along the way. And so I don't know how to completely answer your question, but those are some of the things that I look at. Grade 9 credits is important on there as well, because we want to see all of our freshmen not fall behind. And I think that's what we're looking at. The equity one is harder because we're looking at how we take that bottom 20% and raise them, you know, and that will work. That's one of the areas that we're for. If we don't show growth for those kids, we get things for that. So to me, that's a little harder to identify and develop plans.
I think the chancellor answered that really well. I think all the categories are spot on. I like the categories they have. I think the way they quantify those numerically and then develop those into a one score, I think always could use some review and a little bit more conversation to generate that total score. But we're always, you know, districts are always looking at, oh, how do we compare to this and that, and that's why it's developed like that. But I think your question was spot on those locally developed criteria, and you'll notice that a lot of our locally developed criteria mirror a lot of these items too. In a way, maybe not directly exactly like grade 9 credit, but there's some components of that same thing in there that we developed locally. And so it's another good thing to kind of keep, but it isn't necessarily the one-all be-all way to say schools are very successful. It's one tool, one measurement, and we can kind of use it and say, an assessment of where we're at, what we can use to improve.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Sorry that if you want.
Okay, we will now move to the public comment section of our meeting this evening. Please keep in mind there is a 5-minute time limit, and I have Rebecca Trollman.
Good morning, good evening. My name is Rebecca Coburn, and I know that we did talk a lot of test scores and stuff, but I would like to turn the conversation more into the employee retention. I know during last year, there was a move to create a retention and exit interviews, and I partly would like to have an update on that. But I think starting and ending with exit interviews is only work if you have a very small number of turnover. It may surprise you to know that Goshen County has an excess of 30% turnover. That's a lot of people. That's 1 in 3 people are not going to be here next year, are choosing not to continue their employment in Goshen County. And only a small number of that is due to retirement. Now, there are any number of reasons for individuals to move on. If they're choosing to move on just because they're very unhappy, they've probably been unhappy for a period of time, and asking them why they're leaving as they're going out the door seems a little bit too little too late. It's sort of like asking your spouse, why are you mad as they're storming out the door? They've probably been mad for a while. And so what I would like to see happen is not only do we have these exit interviews, but also a periodic check-in, hey, how you doing? How can we make things better for you? But also, hiring the right people for the job. I know of at least one individual that is, in my terms, uniquely unqualified for her position. And I cannot name names or positions because, I have been very harshly publicly scolded for that. However, I also am aware of a teacher that, has created malfeasance. I'm sorry, misfeasance. Now for all those that don't know the difference between malfeasance and misfeasance, let me take a moment to clarify those two terms. Malfeasance is when you are walking down the street and you see a poor individual who has fallen and you choose not to help that individual up. Now morally, you might say shame on you, but any number of reasons why you may choose to do that. Certainly you have caused no harm. Misfeasance is when you see someone who has unfortunately fallen, and instead of going up and offering them a hand up, you kick them in the ribs on your way by. I have a teacher that has done misfeasance to my child. Purposely, repeatedly. And I have brought this attention to, through the chain of command. We had a year where we did not have, interaction with this individual. And we started up again this year. And I see that even though I was promised this, has not been resolved, a very simple action has not been taken. Now, I don't know from whom this has not, transcended down. I have spoken to, a very senior individual and they assure me that this problem is in the process of being taken care of. But I have to wonder during that year, who else was affected by this individual? This person lied about test scores and ability. Who else did she lie about? I don't know. I have no way of proving it. There's no way to know. This individual needs some help. There are other individuals that need help, teachers, in order to make sure that their continued employment with Goshen County is satisfactory for both themselves, their students, and the parents that interact with them. Because if you have a parent that feels like their child is being slighted or discriminated against, if the parent feels like they have an individual that hates their child and has very good reason to do that, you have problems. And it won't be too long before that teacher also decides to resign. I think there's some serious effort and some serious things that need to be taken into in order to, number one, attract, number two, keep, to hire. Let's hire the right individuals the first time. When you have teachers who say this is just a stepping stone, I'm just here for a year or two until something else opens up, I don't know that that's the right person to hire. And hiring someone for the sole reason of filling positions is not an acceptable reason to hire them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is number 6, the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda this evening that any board member wishes? All those in favor of, or do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda this evening? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented this evening, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carried. Number 7 is old business. Number 7.1 is consider approval of revision to district policy 5120.1, parent reimbursement for out-of-district travel and or transportation or transport to service providers. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving revisions to district policy 5120.1, parent reimbursement for out-of-district travel and or transport to service providers, please signify by saying aye.
I,
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. 7.2, consider approval of revisions to district policy 6174, gifted and talented education. The recommendation is to approve the revisions to district policy 6174 as presented on second and final reading. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving revisions to district policy 6174, gifted and talented education, please signify by saying aye.
I,
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. We will now move down to new business, 8.1, consider approval of adding the 26-27 school year to superintendent contract for Ryan Kramer. The recommendation is to approve maintaining a 2-year contract by adding the 26-27 school year to the contract with Mr. Kramer as the Goshen County School District #1 superintendent. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion?
My one question is there was some discussion about, revising paragraph 10 to reflect consistently with the board governance, say biannually as opposed to once a year for the evaluations. The question would be, should we revise the motion, the initial motion to reflect, renewing the contract with the revision to paragraph 10? The biannually.
And the main reason for that is it reflects our board governance and how we conduct our evaluations and how we do it.
Just for consistency.
So
Do we need to move to,
So I would like to, run you discuss my motion to amend it. I would like to, move to amend, my motion, for approval of the contract, 2-year contract, regarding Mr. Kramer to add, the language of biannually. We would evaluate biannually, reflect similar language in our government, board governance packet.
And I think the reason that it's stated the annual, and I agree with that objective change. I think the thought process was because we take half of it in June and the other half, and so, but I think the biannually makes sense because it is an evaluation. Just for clarification here.
okay, is there a second to this amended motion?
second,
Any discussion? All those in favor of adding the 26-27 school year to superintendent contract for Ryan Kramer with those changes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Number 8.3, consider approval of offering a one-time early resignation incentive to certified staff. The recommendation is to approve offering a graduated early resignation / retirement incentive for the 24-25 school year. Only one, a $5,000 incentive for written notification of intent to retire or resign at the end of the 24-25 school year, received by the end of Monday, December 2nd, 2024, or 2, a $3,000 incentive for written notification received by end of day, Monday, January 6th, 2025. The current $1,000 incentive per district policy 4119 resignation of professional staff members for written notification by the end of day on Friday, January 31st, 2025 remains as a third option. Just another note, staff members are only eligible for one of the three resignation retirement incentives. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving, offering a one-time early resignation incentive to certified staff, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Number 8.4, consider approval of contracting with Crafted Consulting LLC for professional development services. The recommendation is to approve contracting with Crafted Consulting LLC for an additional 5.5 days of on-site professional development for all principals and an additional 4 half-day sessions of individual principal consulting in the total amount of $23,400. This is funded by Title II and School Improvement Funds. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving contracting with Crafted Consulting LLC for professional development services in the total amount of $23,400, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. 8.5, consider approval of school improvement plan. The recommendation is to approve the 24-25 school improvement plans for Lingo Fort Laramie Middle School, Torrington Middle School, and Torrington High School for submission to WDE. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Will there be an opportunity for the board to hear from LFL Middle School as well as CMS on their improvement plan?
So we, in part of our visit, they'll have an opportunity to share that too at that time. The reason that we didn't have them present this evening was that partially meeting as opposed to a meeting. That would be a reason to, but they'll still have to submit, but they will have an opportunity when we attend that building.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the school improvement plans for Lingo Fort Laramie Middle School, Torrington Middle School, and Torrington High School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Number 8.6, consider approval of purchase exceeding $5,000 for the purchase of basketball shop. The recommendation, one, is to approve the purchase of 4 basketball shot clock timers and backboard lighting kits for the 2 Southeast competition gyms, the TMS gym, and the Lingo Fort Laramie High School gym from Jack Thomas in the amount of $30,076. Recommendation 2 is to approve the purchase of 2 basketball shot clock timers and backboard lighting kits for the PHS gym, the Lingo Fort Laramie Middle School gym from Nevco in the amount of $13,312. $38,000 funded by donations and $5,388 funded by District Activity Advisory Council Fund. Do I have a motion? Or
So
is this income correct?
you were comfortable. Unless there's a desire and a motion to separate things.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So just for clarification. But for clarification, Mr. Bartlett's proposal says that, WHSAA requires 3A and 4A two-step shot clock. So what about the 1A, 2A?
Great question. That's got printed, 1A and 2A approved to go the same year as 3 and 4.
And great job to Mr. Bartlett for fundraising for that.
Any other discussion?
How would the actual shot cost $30,000? So for the Daktronics ones, Those are 30,000, those are for basketball shot clock, primers, backboard lighting. And then on the other one for the Nevco, those are 13,312.
So for clarification, on that one, here, it says 30,000 some registration, is that okay? No. That's not, like.
So we have.
Oh, so you're talking about the 30,000 plus the 30,000, and that's right, okay.
Plus the 5,388 funded by district tax.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the purchase of, floor basketball shot clocks, timers, and backboard lighting kits, in the total amount of $30,076 and $13,312, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. 8.7, consider approval of a purchase exceeding $5,000 for the purchase of boiler parts. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? In that, I should have added, the boiler parts are from Tap Engineering, and the total amount is $14,341.12, funded through major league. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the purchase of boiler parts in the total amount of $14,341.12, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Number 8.8, consider approval of suspending current district policy 3642, free and reduced price food services. The recommendation is to approve suspending district policy 3642 due to district participation in the community eligibility provision, CEP, with the policy being reviewed in July of 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
How is our Title I funding calculated? Wasn't that making them pay the fund?
So with the CEP, there's a formula that they generate from previous free funds to make sure they maintain those federal funding sources that were based on free fund portion.
So we have to pass those continue on, and will that go with the spiritually the future as well?
Correct. They have a provision with that to make sure and maintain federal funding along those provisions with the federal, the free and reduced funds that were indicated by that. We still have maintaining of that funding. And this is very just reference. It's now also they use census data, and also in addition to what they have that to make sure that they're aligning. That's primarily driven by the census data.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving suspending current district policy 3642, free and reduced price food services, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Number 8.9, consider approval of proposed revisions to district policy 6111, school year / school calendar on introduction and first reading. The recommendation is to approve the proposed revisions to district policy 6111 as presented on introduction and first reading. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the proposed revisions to district policy 6111 school year / school calendar on introduction and first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Number 8.10, consider approval of proposed revisions to district policy 3410, written standards of conduct for procurement of federal funds as presented on introduction and first reading. The recommendation is to approve the proposed revisions to District Policy 3410 as presented on introduction and first reading. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving proposed revisions to District Policy 3410, written standards of conduct for procurement of federal funds is presented on introduction and first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carried. Number 8.11. Consider approval of offering a teaching contract for the remainder of the 24-25 school year. The recommendation is to approve offering a prorated teaching contract to Olivia Saunders as an English teacher at Torrington Middle School for the remainder of the 24-25 school year. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor of offering a teaching contract for the remainder of the 24-25 school year to Olivia Saunders as an English teacher at Torrington Middle School, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Item carries. Okay, that is it for our action items this evening. Number 9 is board topics for discussion. This is the time for board members to seek input from each other on timely topics. 9.1 is discuss the special board meeting to swear in new board members and conduct a work session for leadership governance.
My suggestion would be, as part of state statute, the board should also have those new board members take their oath of office. We do not need to have that in an official meeting capacity, that can be done in a work session. That does, by state statute, can take place before December 1st, and that includes also those sitting board members to take their oath of office. My suggestion would be to take a look at November 21st, which is a Thursday, or November 25th, which is a Monday evening. And this would be a work session, so it would be a fixed cost start. We know if there is a better time for those board members to return.
Are you going to learn to do the meeting?
Yes.
Is that the not to be part of the play? Is that already?
That's, I think I looked at that. You're right. Yes, so then we'll be looking at the 25th. That would be the best option.
Of November?
Okay. For the comment.
Does that work for the new?
So
Is there any for that week?
we will have that at the second one. Thank you for that. And just here to find, we could work with you then on some of that information that we talked about on training. Where is that document? Perfect. Wonderful.
Okay. Number 9.2 is discussion of interview timeline for the 2025 student representatives to the board. Information and application packets have been sent to high school principals and counselors. The deadline for application is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Discuss convening an interview committee and set a date for interviews.
When do they have to meet?
So their first meeting will be in January. So the more quickly answer your question, that would be the 14th of January.
Are there any of the board members that will still be on the board that are interested in being on this committee. I've been a part of it. It's kind of fun. I would recommend it.
I did it last time, I will do it again, it is kind of fun.
Okay, if you vote it out.
Yeah, you're me.
Okay,
How many board members would you better?
we'd love to have 3.
I will.
Are there any other topics that? Are there any other topics for discussion that any board member wishes to discuss this evening?
Just really quick, I do want to extend a very heartfelt thank you to all of the staff that are packing up every month to go to different locations. I get it. I get that it's a lot of work and I get that it's an inconvenience. But I really, really, really do appreciate it. If anything, we're giving people an opportunity to come to the different schools and giving us as a board the opportunity to see different schools. So I do appreciate it. I love the new technology. I know that there's a lot of work that goes into it, and I really, really do appreciate you guys doing that. And then at some point in time, after we've hit every location, maybe we reassess and see if this is something that the new board is interested in still doing, because I get that it's an inconvenience for everybody. So that's on a happy note.
I got a lot of positive comments.
Oh, good. I've only got the negative.
Like you said, and the tours, the different buildings and some of these buildings are, and I don't get to go around in that capacity, lots of, they took on that, this role, and so to see those things, different areas that I've not seen, it's been very beneficial. The new technology helps too, I know it's that helps, I think, the rest of some of the needs that we had in our previous two, right? Great thoughts, I know.
Yeah. So I get all the work that goes into it. The other kind of seed that I wanted to plant, and I'm sorry, Mr. Kramer, but I know you and I talked about this, but sometimes as I'm looking through these bills, it's very overwhelming and you see a lot of numbers and you don't know what's normal and what's not normal. But one thing that really stuck out to me is our out of suspension number, $3,000 this month. That seems like a lot to me. And so Mr. Kramer and I spoke about it a little bit, and there are some concerns with the numbers. So as a board, I think we need to be looking at that and thinking about that and trying to figure out what's going on. Because that's a pretty high number.
I just updated numbers on some of those, changes that slightly,
Okay.
but the overall cost piece obviously has not changed. And there's which I would agree with. I think there's some things to take a look at and have further discussion.
For the new board members in our community, can you explain what number 34 is and why that's costing us about
So for us, we offer the program, number 34, for services to be provided to students on an out-of-school suspension day. So it really is not an out-of-school suspension traditionally as we defined it. Typically, my day out-of-school suspension, then you're sitting at home on the couch and that was your out-of-school suspension. Out-of-school suspension services, now that they provide services for 34, in an environment that provides support for their academic learning during those days, but there's a cost to providing that service, as opposed to just having an out-of-school. Primarily, those are driven not necessarily at the high school level, although we do offer that in some certain situations, primarily from kindergarten through 9th through 8th grade services are probably primarily the ones that can utilize those out-of-school suspension services.
So,
It's usually part of the conference with the principal, within discussions with the parents, and how can we make this a meaningful learning experience to prevent further discipline issues that would result again in additional suspension days.
I just think it's worth having a conversation and kind of looking into a little bit more. Find it to be concerning, so, you know, just like we're doing the school improvement plans and so forth, this is part of it, discipline's a big piece of it. And, I did review the discipline matrix, and it was very impressive how specific it really is. I mean, there are no questions about you do A, B and C will happen. Now, I don't know that I 100% agree with all of the quote unquote disciplines, but it's laid out there and it's pretty transparent. And so I guess that's kind of what caught me too is why do we have this many school discussions and what's going on? I mean, do we have a problem and what's our plan to address it?
Any other topics we need to?
I would, I would want to just stand for a piece of that. One of the primary pieces on the discipline program is something that the board has already taken action on, which is nice, because I think it's going to actually lead to it. But the instruction component, how are we developing leaders in our schools in order to say, hey, I can also check myself before these discipline issues. How are we instructing along those? Because it just can't be the hand. We know that. And so by approving that leader in the program, we have an instilled educational component district-wide. That is our tier one. That's what we call when Mr. Ray Tillard was referring to our tier one support. Leader is a tier one support. Every student gets it. That is a preventative measure. Now, what then is going into the tier two, the tier three? The tier three are the students that are repeat OSS, ISS. What types of things are we putting in place to have preventative measures for those students who might have more situations where those things are occurring? Tier one typically deals with general instruction, leader in need, and civil consequences are clearly laid out. And for 90% of our students, that's going to be the effective tool. What do we do for those other? And then it's 35% of the tier two.
Next is number 10, future meetings. 10.1, the next regular school board meeting will be on Tuesday, December 10th in the boardroom at 7 p.m. with the seating of new board members and reorganization of the board. The agenda will include a 6 p.m. work session for the annual audit presentation by NHP. 10.2, the WSBA annual conference. The conference will be held at the Casper Rancoda from November 20th through the 22nd. The delegate assembly is on November 20th at 1:30 p.m. Discounted registration pricing will be available for newly elected board members. Contact Lorraine if you wish to attend. And 10.3 is WSBA winter training workshops.
We just went to 10.1, did we change for,
We're going to go down to that 10.5.
I'm gonna change it there, okay.
Um, 10.4, American Education Week is November 18th through the 22nd. The Board of Trustees extends their thanks and appreciation to all district staff for their hard work done for the benefit of Goshen County School District number 1 students. And then number 10.5 is discuss rescheduling the Tuesday, December 10th regular board meeting to Monday, December 9th due to the Goshen County Band Gala concert.
So we can keep it on the 10th. I just want to offer that for any board members who have children performing in that. If it's easier to go on the 9th. Unfortunately, in December, because of what we will always come up against are those conflicts, and they chose the 10th because it offers the least conflict for them in regards to the other activities. So that's why they go on that Tuesday as opposed to trying to fit it in on maybe the other nights, because December, as you know, as parents, there are a lot of holiday concerts. And Christmas concerts going on during the month of December and try to find the right date. It's a little easier for us to move quite honestly, than it is for them to not be able to have that opportunity to perform. But we cannot, if there's no conflicts on the tenth, we are certainly welcome to stay on that evening too.
My district program is on the next, so I'm.
Okay. We'll keep it at that.
Okay, that's all I have, so I'll turn it over to the superintendent to give the report.
We have average attendance data that I share on the basic. You can see on the screen, we've had some slight declines. Yellow is a under 5 student decline from the previous year in that first column. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't see anything.
Yellow.
No, we're still not good. I don't know, that's gonna be one of the technology things we might have to live with in this situation. I think. Maybe a bit better. So LaGrange had a slight decline from the previous, or same the previous month, slight decline from the previous year. That first column again, green, that means there's increasing enrollment from the previous year, and then the yellow is indicating of the last month. Go down with linger polarity. You can see we've had we did have some more significant declines from Lincoln Elementary. Their enrollment is 238. That isn't much different than the previous month, but it is significantly different than the previous year. We have had a decline of approximately 14 students. And then Southeast Elementary is up from the previous year. Southeast High School is slightly down from the previous year. Southeast Junior High is slightly up. Trail Elementary is up from both the previous month, and the previous year. We're up approximately 9 students at Trail Elementary. Goshen High School is up 4 students from the previous year, slightly down from the previous month. TMS is down approximately 16 students from the previous year. And PRS, I think we can from that, they are slightly down 5 students. And that typically increases for that. We are down as a district approximately 20 students from the previous year and 5 from the previous month. A lot of that can be attributed to our smaller kindergarten class. Where then I want to go to the school performance rankings. So 2 different data points here. The first being you remember last month, I did talk about this, and it was under embargo, as they refer to it, where I couldn't report it on new to data. And this goes back again to the school performance ranking. Probably all of them. So, as a district, when you take the average of all those rankings in THS and Trail reported these numbers, this is the highest average we've had as a district. Our average in the previous year was 1.9. As a district, we increased that to 2.15. You can see that from this previous column, the blue and green are the situations where we want to be in. That means the blue is in the exceeding expectations, and then green is meeting expectations. We have 3 schools that are exceeding: Southeast Elementary, Fort Leavenworth Elementary, and Southeast High School. We then have, oh, no, there it was. My computer died, so we'll hopefully hold on to that. So, but one of the biggest things there, again, is the partial meeting. Fort Laramie, for remember the previous year was not meeting. And they moved up to Carson and were just 0.1 away from meeting expectations. And that is a significant turnaround. And this is the highest as a district that we have been on the school ranking, which is it's kind of a kudos to the work being done in our buildings. When you look just back the previous year, you can see a lot more yellow, and that is significant. Significant achievements. We had one school go down and 5 stay the same and 5 increase. And when that's on a 3-year average, that takes some movement on a number of different pieces. And it's really exciting. There is also the opportunity, and that's what I was going to show next, was when you go on the Department of Education website, you can go to every district in the state. When you look at neighboring districts, we, in the number of schools that we have exceeding and meeting expectations, are exceeding a lot of our peers in what I've considered some really great districts also around us, but doing a great job in some of them. And I think also some of the pieces that we developed locally are exciting to take a look at. There's some really good things going on. Are we there yet? Absolutely not. Are we satisfied with where we're at? No. But is there movement to where we want to be? Absolutely. And that's attributed to the hard work of the principals and the teachers, because they're doing a great job. And so I really appreciate their work, and the kudos to when those come out. It's just another tool to gauge what work we're doing and how well it's going. One that isn't listed, that I did want to point out, and I think this is a really big, Ramona, who was our nutrition director, she quantified, as we made this change to the community eligibility provision, and where all of our first meals are free for students. In the month of October, we served 12,000 more meals than we did the previous year. And so that is a significant number of students who are utilizing our school lunch program on a daily basis. So 12,000 more meals were served in just the month of October. So that's some exciting information that I really appreciate her provided to me, and it'll be interesting if that is maintained throughout the school year, and how that sits on families with that need. And I've had some, it was interesting as I had the conversation, just asking more questions about, what does this mean, how long is this in place? And as you read in that agenda item, where that agenda item for the policy comes back in July, the conversation about future years, and part of that CEP program will also take place on a yearly basis. That's everything that I have for my report.
Okay. With that, we're adjourned.